it doesn't matter. I mean, in all fairness, it does not matter what a guy made to fight. Now, I'm talking about Tank versus Garcia. It doesn't matter. But I do find it interesting. You know, they used to leak this. We would get this all the time. I shouldn't call it a leak. They used to report this every Monday. We'd have a big fight, and it was always either UFC or Bellator. Whoever looked into this didn't do it for everybody. But there's a UFC or Bellator event. Come Monday, we, the audience, would see what the fighters got paid. That goes through the commission, which is on taxpayer money, which means that information is public. They would just tell us what the show was, what the win was. And it was interesting to know people's business, right? It is. It's it. Would you like to know your neighbors? I mean, you say that you want it, but would you like to know? Okay. So, I understand why things get embellished. I truly do. I don't know if anybody has come into this sport and let you know that's okay. It's okay to storytell. It's okay to entertain. There is some business that is your business. It wasn't theirs in the first place, and you can entertain. I really do get that, okay? I'm not a prude on that. You guys know that. But when they lie, to the extent that they lie, then that creates something else within inside of me, right? That makes me then go back and turn a gun on the very principles that I just got done telling you I support. So I don't know what inner psychology that says about me. I suppose I would have to have a deep analysis by a professional, but it does. It does bother me, and it bothers me at their stupidity. I had done a great podcast, Andrew Schultz. Danny Brenner takes me out to talk about the Grand Prix, which Patrici Mix just won, and $1 million, and he beat Stotts, and that was tough, man. Mix is so good, it's difficult to explain. And he's also unique with his reach, and we all know what he can do on the ground, but he's got that on his feet, too. He's got the cardio. Stotts is so damn likable. He's one of the good guys. So to watch those, I mean, it was just one of these things. But Danny takes me out. I go to New York. I end up doing Andrew Schultz to talk about this process. I did not understand how big Schultz was. The only thing I've ever done in my time in media that I felt I could feel. I didn't go look for it or search it. I could feel it. Whether it was text with my phone lighting up, actual phone calls, social media, I'm a big Twitter guy, social media, where I could actually feel it. The only thing I've ever done bigger was Rogan. It went Rogan, Schultz, Helwani. Like, more bang for my buck than even my own stuff. You guys are used to me. I'm not as impressive here, right? I mean, believe me, I can go places and somebody might want a selfie. When I go to the Starbucks at West Lynn, nobody's giving me cuts in line, right? I mean, it's one of those things. And you guys, it's the same way, but I'm just sharing with you. When I was doing Schultz's show, somehow we end up on the topic of Mayweather and what he's paid. And there is reports by Forbes, who's very well respected. There's reports by Forbes that Mayweather in a night made $250 million. Are you guys aware of that? $250 million for a fight. It just didn't happen. Not only did it not happen, it's insane, and it was a joke by Floyd and his team to put it out. They had started joking with you. They had started telling you that Floyd carries a bag with him at all times that has $5 million in it, right? They started with that, and you bought it. So they moved over to, well, he's got the pay-per-view record, and they're looking around for somebody to bust him. Oh, no, hell no, they didn't. They went with it. The biggest sports fighters in the world went with it. Floyd couldn't believe he got away with it. So he starts pushing. I made $100 million last year. Hey, they wrote it down. Forbes reported it. Very well-respected source reported it. It was a joke. Once he got them to believe he made $1 million last year, the next year he said, I made $130. They believed it. All of us things just goes, I made $250 million tonight. It was a joke. Forbes reported it. So when I was doing Schultz's show, they brought that to me. They said, well, Chael, these are very good sources. This is Forbes. And I don't need to drop my acronyms, but I happen to be gainfully employed by a much more respected and much larger source than Forbes, in all fairness. So are you putting Chael head-to-head with Forbes? Because I'll play that game. Now, what I didn't tell Schultz, but only because I didn't have time, I had been contacted by Forbes. I was contacted by Forbes about fight, and I took the time to ask him that. I said, why do you guys put that down? They said, Chael, you need to understand this. There's no expectation of us to go into this athlete's bank account and see what he got. There's no expectation, and that would be the only way to do it. What we are expected to do is to vet, and all vetting from our standpoint means, because journalism 101, cite your source. Right? You copy from one person, you've done plagiarism. You copy for 3 people, you've done research. That will hold up in college. You can plagiarize somebody if at the end you put an and say that, right? It's insane, but it's the truth. You kill one person, you're a killer. You kill 5 people, you're a serial killer. You kill 5 million people, you are a conqueror. It's one of these weird things. But Forbes had to explain this to me in their own little way, which was nobody expects us to actually go in and see what's in the account, which would be the only way to know. So we go to credible sources. As long as they said it happened, we can then report that it happened. They said we went to credible sources, and they told me what they were. Sports Illustrated was one of them. I'm going to leave the other ones out because I got my own associations. Okay, good enough. But it's insane, and it was never meant to be believed, right? Floyd didn't mean for you guys to believe it, but you did. He's laughing, and you're dummies. You got played by an illiterate guy. And I'm not being a dick. Young man can't read. But he outsmarted you. Now we have Tank Davis versus Garcia. And a report today, and I happen to know the guy that wrote, I'm not going to tell you who wrote this. I'm just not. There's some protections. There's a level of protection you get if you're in Chael's orbit. This was somebody from my orbit that wrote it, but it was massive and it's everywhere. If you read about it, you read about it because he's the one that put it out. Other people have picked it up and taken it, but it all came from him. He said that Tank made $10 million. You guys hearing this? Tank to fight Ryan Garcia got $10 million. Now, I'll tell you right now, Tank's a big deal. I'll tell you right now, Tank is the face, one of them, for boxing. Of course, he's not Tyson Fury, but he's one of them. It's a big deal. If you were a promoter and you could have Tank or you could have Lomachenko right now, you're gonna have a real back and forth. And you'd have some politics and, well, what venue and where are we playing, but you're probably going to go with Tank. And even if you disagree, but you see where I'm saying, he's that big. It's that big. I couldn't have done this piece a week ago. He wasn't. That was an interesting fight. They promoted it really well. There wasn't a star. A star was born. So to talk about 10 million, you sound a little bit stupid. It just doesn't work that way. Now, moreover, they broke down where the 10 million came from. He got $5 million that night. The commission came in the back and handed him $5 million check. All right. That did not happen, but this is the story, okay? Furthermore, in the story, the pay-per-views did 1.2 million. That also did not happen. They did 1.2 million. And Tank received half the revenue. Okay. Now, I read it again because obviously they just used the wrong word. Can't come down on a guy because he uses the wrong word. But he used the word revenue. I mean, this is a business piece. He's talking about money. He says the word revenue. It's the wrong word, but he says revenue. So let's just think about that. Tank got $5 million from these guys. He got $10 million overall. So how much is missing? What's the missing number we need to know, right? Turns out it's $5 million. They did 1.2 million pay-per-views. And he got half the revenue, which would mean the pay-per-view was $10. Did any of you pay $10 to watch that fight? And now that you have everything right in front of you, it's so easy to accept that Floyd got a check for $250 million until you ask who wrote the check. right? Who's the gangster that came in and wrote that? That's where the wheels fall off the bus. But now, more recently, as today, an article came out that Tank got half the revenue on the pay-per-view, which was stated at $1.2 million, and totaled $5 million, which means that PPV went for $10. So the rest of you that spent $80 on it, I guess, according to this author, that all of them went and picked up, makes you a little bit stupid.